It's crazy to think that over 7 years have passed since Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai released, and it only recently aired its second season. Now, there were 3 movies in the interim, ranging from pretty good to fantastic. And the storyline for this series is consistently, and a bit confusingly, intertwined. But I think a lot ties together the 2 proper seasons of the anime, beyond just their form factor. Both act as starting points in their respective arcs, with Bunny Girl Senpai beginning the whole chain of events, and Santa Claus kicking off the college section of the series. Also, with the time skip for Santa Claus, there is a freshness to the season that contributes to the feeling of setting out. It's this parallel between the two that got me thinking about what else Bunny Girl Senpai and Santa Claus share in common. Premieres are some of my favorite anime episodes. The puzzle of establishing the world of a show while also teeing up the entire plot has a million different approaches. With a big time gap in real life between seasons and an in-universe time skip, the Rascal Does Not Dream series sort of has 2 separate premieres. The series itself seems to recognize this too, and is clearly self-referential with Santa Claus's opening episode. With that in mind, I thought it would be fun to revisit both season premieres, looking directly at what they share, and maybe more interestingly at how they're different. By mimicking and then twisting Bunny Girl Senpai's opener, Santa Claus reveals how far our friends have come in their story, while simultaneously carving out its season's own lane. I think the best approach to this comparison is to start by looking at Bunny Girl Senpai's premiere, break it down, and then shift to look at Santa Claus. Santa Claus can be like a commentary on Bunny Girl Senpai when it comes to their debuts, so going in order is best. Bunny Girl Senpai's premiere is all about mystery. Even before we meet Mai, the episode opens with one of Sakuta's diary entries that starts to hint towards the memory loss that will be important later. Through all of the following scenes, our focus is going to be on what Mai's puberty syndrome is, how it affects her and those around her, and why it may be happening. The relationships between Sakuta and those around him are important, and will shape the story to come. But in this opener, they are supplementary to the immediate presence of Mai and her troubles. Speaking of, the most famous scene from the episode, the season, and probably the series, comes in the library with Mai in the titular bunny suit. There are already countless videos on YouTube talking about this moment, and how it sort of presents the show as one thing to an outsider, before completely pivoting to an intricate mystery drama. Instead of taking that angle though, let's look at how this fits into the entirety of the episode. This moment comes very early on, and is the inciting action to the mystery. We barely know who Sakuta is, but share his curiosity in why a girl in a bunny suit is seemingly invisible to everyone but us. Notably, Mai is very cold to Sakuta in their first encounter. She's warding him off from her problems, preferring isolation in her puberty syndrome. And then she's gone. After this, we get to learn more about who Sakuta is. His curiosity stands out first, asking about Mai to Kunimi on their way to school. But we also get to see just how much of a loner Sakuta is too. And this is the other major takeaway from the premiere. He is a rascal, not worried about rubbing people the wrong way. Beyond Ryo and Kunimi, the rest of the students steer clear of him. Mai acknowledges this the next time they cross paths, and we learn about the hospital incident that caused Sakuta to be ostracized. Sakuta is notably at peace with this life, at least on the surface. He claims that having 2 friends is plenty, and that he wishes more than anything else not to disturb the social atmosphere, as he puts it. Sakuta is a drifting character, and we key in pretty quickly to the fact that Mai is going to be saving him as much as he saves her. But that's for future episodes, The last 5 minutes or so of the premiere is spent seeing Sakuta research more about Mai, and then going to Ryo for help. Notably, Ryo is resistant to accepting puberty syndrome's existence. The episode ends with Sakuta looking for Mai, and only finding her back at his own apartment. He brings one of her favorite custard buns home with him, a wonderful little clue to how they are already connecting with each other. And then it's over. So, in general terms, we start with the bunny girl suit inciting action, and then blend in Sakuta's exposition while he tries to uncover more about what is going on. Simple, effective, with an extremely memorable hook. There's also a great element of tension and stakes, with the idea that Mai is slowly disappearing to more and more people. As far as series premieres go, it's hard to do much better. This brings us to Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus. To me, what sets this premiere apart from its precursor is in the arrangement of the core pieces. Bunny Girl Senpai leads with mystery, and unveils the relationships and characters around it. Santa Claus does the opposite, starts with relationships and slowly trickles the mystery in. The episode opens with a flashback with young Shoko and Sakuta grabbing food before she moves away. This serves as a good callback to some of the movie plotlines, as well as, I'm sure, planting some future story elements for the upcoming movie. Most of all though, Shoko highlights the appearance of Toko Kirishima, a music artist who only popped up in the current timeline of events. This perks our ears up as audience members, but notably it's pushed to the side by Sakuta and Shoko. Then, before we know it, it's a year later and Sakuta is a college student. From this point on, the differences from Bunny Girl Senpai jump off the screen. When Sakuta is on the phone with Mai, there's this great shot with 3 of his friends waiting outside the booth. In just one shot, he's already outpaced the 2 friends he said were plenty in the other premiere. It feels like every other scene transitions because Sakuta is called upon by someone else he knows. More importantly too, he has all of these interactions because these people trust and rely on him. Long gone are the days of Sakuta being a harsh loner. He hasn't shaken all of the rascal off, but he's knowledgeable and cares for those around him. The commercial Mai does puts a fine point on this, asking, "Are you still the same person as back then?" Which is a great little meta moment. When Sakuta goes to the mixer and meets Miori, we see how Sakuta's reputation precedes him. Sure, he's noteworthy for being Mai's boyfriend, but that's also ignoring the reasons that people gravitate towards him. The Sakuta we see in this premiere is not a completely different person, but a maturation of the character we met in the first season. Seeing them paralleled so closely really draws this development into sharp focus. There's also some interesting parallels with Mai in this episode. Most notably, her closeness with Sakuta is a great contrast to Season 1's premiere. In Bunny Girl Senpai, they somewhat begrudgingly come to rely on each other, with Mai's isolation closing in. In Santa Claus, Mai is more popular than ever. It seems like everyone is talking about her, and we even see her ad on the train, which is another great parallel while we're at it. In Bunny Girl Senpai, she glares at an ad on the train, and now, all of this time later, she's the one we're looking up at. But back to the point. Mai Sakurajima is ubiquitous in this new world, and ironically, she and Sakuta are further apart than ever in some ways. Her work, her circumstances, are now creating distance, but their bond is closer than ever. So again, opposites in connection and time together between the 2 premieres. It only ends up being a brief scene, but one of the obvious comparisons between this season and the last one comes when Sakuta visits the college library. Here, just as we saw all that time ago, a woman in an unusual costume walks by. But this version is very different. She does not stop to speak with Sakuta. She isn't trying to get anyone's attention, and the library is empty, so the matter of her being invisible is up in the air. Also, this scene comes far later in the episode than the bunny suit one. It ends up being the starting point for the big mystery of the entire season, but instead of leading things off, it sneaks into the back part of the premiere and is only there for an instant. It piques interest, but it doesn't give information. Instead, we get the big stab of intrigue with Nodoka and Uzuki at the episode's conclusion. In Bunny Girl Senpai, Mai's mystery is the first one Sakuta solves before the rest of the season kicks off. In Santa Claus, the miniskirt Santa is going to be the last mystery we solve, a complete reversal of the order from the previous season. So, while the scenes mirror each other in a lot of ways, they're serving opposite purposes. The Rascal Does Not Dream series has 2 different season premieres, and each one is structured with its own set of priorities in mind. Bunny Girl Senpai kicks off with the core mystery of Mai's disappearance, and lays the supporting information into every nook and cranny. Santa Claus begins by showing us just how different Sakuta is, highlighting the relationships he's made and how much those around him have come to rely on him, before introducing the miniskirt Santa and the resurgence of puberty syndrome. There's a bunch of other little parallels between the episodes that aren't as thematically relevant, but are still fun to see and drive home how Santa's premiere is clearly meant to invoke Bunny Girl Senpais. All that's left is to see what the final movie in the series has to offer later this year. And that ends this episode of Split Screen. I'm excited to bring this series back a bit. I just didn't want to force comparisons when they weren't slam dunks, so I took a bit of a break. If you enjoyed the video today, and like other videos about romance and romance anime, liking and subscribing helps a ton, as does hitting the hype button on the mobile app. I'm Slam Anime, and I'll see you next time.